Welcome to How I Unfucked My Life, the show that proves you can rebuild, rewire, and rise from anything. Let's get started. Hey, welcome to another episode. Today I want to talk about how to change your life without burning it down. And I'm going to start with a little bit of honesty. When I finally decided to change my life, I didn't do it gently. No, I torched it. I burnt it to the ground. I hit that point where I couldn't pretend that I was okay, couldn't keep carrying everything, couldn't keep living a life that didn't feel like mine. And when you ignore those whispers long enough, your life will eventually explode. And that's what happened to me. Now, did it work? Absolutely. Would I recommend doing it that way? Probably not. And only because there's an easier way. You see, when I did it, I had to tackle everything at once. I had to change the way I thought, how I made decisions, how I handled stress. I had to learn to be alone, rebuild my self-confidence, my self-worth, learn how to set boundaries. I had to decide what I really wanted and not settle for anything less. That was a lot to do at once, and that's only to name a few. But here's what I want you to hear. You don't have to do it that way. You don't have to wait for the explosion, and you don't have to lose everything at once to change your life. Most people want change, but they're looking at it as this giant, overwhelming overhaul. And it is if you do it all at once. You start thinking, oh, I have to quit my job, or I have to leave the relationship, or I have to move, I have to become a whole different person. Well, of course that's going to feel impossible. And of course you're going to shut down. And that is why you stay where you are. But here's the truth. You can change everything by changing small things consistently. So today I want to walk you through how to start making those changes, and not just to tell you to do this or do that, but why these things actually work and what they start rewiring in your brain. We're going to go through 5 things. None of them are dramatic, and none of them require you to blow up your life, but they will absolutely start changing it if you follow through. First one, change one decision that you make on autopilot every day. You see, most people live their life in autopilot. Same thoughts, same reactions, same patterns, same job, same route, same story. And every time you repeat that autopilot choice, you're telling your brain, this is who I am, this is what I do, and this is how my life is. And every day you decide to take the same route to work or have the same breakfast, to do the exact same things, you make it easier for your mind to do it automatically. Now that doesn't sound like a bad thing, or does it? You see, it creates a life lived in autopilot, and I don't find that appealing. So when you change even one of those repeated choices every day, you're not just doing something different, you're interrupting the pattern your brain thinks is the truth. You see, your brain loves what's familiar, even if it's miserable. It's familiar and it's safe. Autopilot decisions are how your brain conserves energy. So when you consciously change one tiny thing, you're basically sending a message, I'm not stuck and I can choose differently. And that tiny interruption, that's the beginning of rewiring. How does it change your life? Well, you prove to yourself on a daily level that you are not just a passenger on this ride. You're not helpless. You're not stuck in this is how I am, or this is how my life is mode. You start feeling more in control, not because your circumstances changed yet, but because you're finally participating in your choices instead of just reacting or going with the flow. To this day, I try and change anything that I do when I realize that I'm on autopilot. And I'm going to give you one thing that I did a few years ago. It's silly, but it worked. I started backing my car up the driveway instead of pulling it straight in. Now that might seem like a so what, but it was different. I had to teach my brain to back it in instead of doing it the easy way and just pulling up. And I no longer just pull in mindlessly. I actually have to think about it, and I'm engaging instead of flowing. And you know what? I actually wound up liking my car better that way, and it works out much better. Who would have thought? So how it changes the way you think, instead of this is just what I do, you start thinking, I actually have a say in this. So give it a try. If you make your bed every day, try not making it one day. World's not going to come to a screeching halt. Take a different route to work. Try a different coffee. Anything to start the ball rolling. And once your brain understands that you can choose differently in small moments, it becomes easier to choose differently in the bigger ones. The second thing you can do is say no to one thing that drains you. Not 10 things, not your family, not your whole job, but one thing. We're talking about one thing that you dread, you resent, or feel heavy about every time it comes up. But you do it anyway, out of guilt, out of fear, habit, or maybe obligation. But every time you say yes to something that drains you, your brain learns their needs are more important than mine. My energy doesn't matter. If I say no, maybe something bad will happen. When you finally say no to one drain, you're teaching your nervous system something completely different. You're teaching it, I am allowed to protect my energy. The world doesn't end when I choose myself. And discomfort is survivable. That one no is not just about the situation. It's about breaking the belief that your job is to sacrifice yourself. So how does that change your life? Protecting your energy gives you something back that you need to change your life. Capacity. You think you're lazy or unmotivated, but a lot of the time you're just exhausted from giving everything away. When you remove one drain, you suddenly have a tiny amount of extra. And that extra might be mental space, emotional bandwidth, physical energy. And that extra energy is what you use to make better choices for yourself. You start moving from, I have to do this or they'll be upset, to, I'm allowed to matter here too. And when your brain gets used to that, it becomes easier to say no again and again. You start to see that you're not selfish for saying no. You're just done abandoning yourself. Number 3, stop managing everyone else's reactions. This one is huge. I just did an episode on not giving a shit what other people think, and that's kind of what this is. So many of us are not living our own lives. We're living a performance, trying to prevent other people from being upset or disappointed or uncomfortable or judging us. We change how we talk, what we say, what we ask for, even what we want, all based on how will they react? What will they think? Well, I say, who cares? Why this works? When you try and control everyone else's reactions, 3 things happen. You train your brain to believe other people's feelings are more important than your truth. You teach yourself that being liked is safer than being honest. And you never actually build trust in yourself because your choices are always based on other people and their reaction. So when you stop managing reactions, you're telling your brain, I can handle it if someone doesn't like my choice. And I don't have to twist myself into knots to be loved. And disappointment and conflict are uncomfortable, but they're not going to destroy me. That's emotional adulthood. And how does that change your life? Once you stop making decisions based on who will be mad or who will think what or whatever, your options open up. You start choosing based on what you need, what's healthy for you, what feels aligned, what supports your future, and what you actually want. Your life starts to quietly shift in the direction of your values, not other people's expectations. You go from, if they're unhappy I did something wrong, to their reaction is about them. My choices are about me. That's a massive shift in identity from peacekeeper to self-keeper. And number 4, do one thing a day that honors the woman you're becoming. You have a picture in your mind, even if it's fuzzy, we all do, of the woman that you want to become. Whether it's more confident, calmer, stronger, clearer, more honest, more joyful, more successful. Right now, most of your daily actions are built around who you were or who other people need you to be. This step is about asking, what would the future me do right now? And then actually doing one small thing in line with her. Your brain builds your identity based on repeated behavior. So when you start acting like the future version of you now, even in tiny ways, your brain starts to update the story. And it starts thinking, I am someone who follows through. I am someone who takes care of herself. Or I am someone who can change. You are literally rehearsing being her before your life catches up. See, when you align one action a day with the woman you're becoming, you begin to make better decisions about your time, choose different people and environments, speak up where you would have stayed quiet, and reach for habits that support you instead of numb you. Over time, your external life adjusts to match who you've been practicing to become. And how this changes the way you think, you shift from one day I'll become her to I'm already becoming her. It stops being a fantasy and starts being evidence. You're proving to your own brain that you're capable of being that woman right now, even in small steps. And number 5, tell yourself the truth about what hurts. This is the step that most people skip, and it's exactly why they end up burning everything down later. We minimize, we sugarcoat, we tell ourselves, oh, it's not that bad, or I'm sure other people have it worse, or I should be grateful, and we all should be grateful. But meanwhile, our body is screaming, our spirit is exhausted, and our mind is drowning. Lying to yourself keeps you stuck. You can't change what you refuse to acknowledge. So when you finally tell yourself the truth, you bring the problem into the light where it can actually be worked on. You validate your own experience instead of gaslighting yourself. You give your brain a clear signal. This matters. We can't ignore this anymore. And honesty is uncomfortable, but it's also clarifying. You can't make a plan from, I'm fine. You can only make a plan from, this is what's really going on. Once you admit, I'm not happy, or I'm exhausted, or this relationship is breaking me, this job is killing my spirit, you can stop spending all your energy pretending and start using that energy to decide what you want to do about it. Instead of blowing up your life in a crisis moment, you start making small, honest adjustments earlier, asking for help, having hard conversations, changing boundaries, planning an exit strategy, prioritizing your health. How that changes the way you think? You move from, if I admit this, it'll break me, to, if I admit this, I can finally do something about it. You begin to see the truth not as a threat, but as a lifeline. So when we talk about how to start changing your life without burning it down, this is what we're really saying. Change one thing you do on autopilot. Say no to one thing that drains you. Stop managing everybody else's reactions. Do one thing a day that lines up with who you're becoming, and tell yourself the truth about what hurts. None of that looks dramatic from the outside. No one may even notice at first. But inside, you're building a completely different relationship with yourself. And that's what's actually changing your life. You don't need to set everything on fire. You just need to stop abandoning yourself in the small moments. That's where it starts. That's how you change your life without burning it down. And if this episode hit home with you, give it a like and share it with someone who you think can use it. And drop me a comment on some of the small changes that you're committed to making. And make sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. We'll see you next time. Bye. Listen, at the end of the day, it's simple. You either make excuses or you make progress, but you can't do both. If something in this episode hit home, then sit with it. Do something about it. And if you're serious about changing your life, start acting like it. And if you're not, well, that's on you. Life doesn't wait. I'll catch you next time on How I Unfucked My Life. And remember, nothing changes if you don't.